Shut up and sit down.
Hello, my friends. I am not Dinger in The Mandalorian. I am Simon, your cosplay nerd. In an earlier series, I showed you exactly how I built my cosplay armor from the Mandalorian TV show on Disney+. And this time, I want to show you how I stopped the Mandalorian from getting too lonely in this lockdown by building Baby Yoda himself, the child. As with my Mandalorian armor, the child started off his life as a 3D print, and there are quite a lot of Baby Yoda 3D printable files that you can download for free from Thingiverse. The print came out in 3 separate parts, the head and each of the ears, and I used good old regular cheap super glue to glue those pieces together. It worked really well because the gluable pieces were very flat and very large, so I got really good bonding between them. After gluing Baby Yoda together, I then used Bondo to fill in the cracks, and I wet sanded that Bondo down to a smooth finish. I had a can of lime green gloss paint hanging around, so after I finished sanding down Baby Yoda, I gave him a quick spray with that as a base coat, and I was actually really excited to see how he was coming out even at that early stage. I've never been that great at painting, so I then spent the majority of my time on Baby Yoda working on detailing, using different color greens and browns to try to make his face look a lot more 3D and a lot more lifelike. For his eyes, I originally used black gloss paint, but I found that they still looked a little dull, so I headed down to my local craft store and bought some black metallic paint, and that looks much better. I'm quite happy now with how shiny his eyes look. I then printed and painted both of his hands in exactly the same way. I decided to print some little thin pegs to attach to his hands and to attach to his neck, just to give him some more structure. And finally, I designed and 3D printed a disc to go in his neck, into which the head peg would slot, so that he could still turn his head from side to side, but his neck wouldn't cave in and he would have just a lot more structure and rigidity to him. So then it was time to make his robes, and I decided to take a quick trip down to my local Joann's store, where I've had a great run of luck of finding bargains in their off-cut bin. And this time was no different. For just a few dollars, I found this awesome beige material that really looked a lot like the robes that Baby Yoda was wearing in the forest episode where Din Djarin and Cara Dune were fighting the AT-ST. I decided to make my Baby Yoda's robes essentially just a sack with Velcro at the bottom so that I could insert and change around the stuffing. To hide most of the seams, I actually used barge cement to glue down these doubled up layers that just give it a bit more thickness and rigidity as well. I glued the neck ring inside his neck underneath this scarf type layer, and I glued his hands into the arms here. As you can see, I doubled up on the material on his arms to give him multiple sleeves, just like he has in the show. Here you can see that I propped him up on a couple of paint cans just to see how things were looking, and I was really encouraged with the results at that point. After that, I filled him about half full with the typical white fluffy stuffing that you can get from any craft store, and then a brainwave hit me. I took some regular Elmer's glue because I knew it dried clear, and I painted some just on the top of his head here, and then drizzled just a little bit of that stuffing on top. And voila, you suddenly have wispy Baby Yoda hair. Then it was time to take Baby Yoda out for a spin. It was the first day of spring in my yard, and we went for a walk together. And Baby Yoda found himself fascinated by daffodils. I ended up taking a photo of Baby Yoda reaching out and trying to grab a daffodil, and that photo got 1,000 likes on Instagram. All of a sudden, Baby Yoda was a social influencer. So there you have it. That is how I made my own Mandalorian armor and Baby Yoda. That's it from me. I am Simon, your cosplay nerd. This is the child or the asset, depending on who you believe. Peace out, my friends. This is the way.
Shut up and sit down.